We've established a new record for the entry cameras over there. I've seen a lot, but that's new, which represents something new in the Southeastern Conference, and that is the head coach from the University of Oklahoma being a part of our media days. Brent Venables was named Oklahoma's 23rd head football coach, December 5th, 2021. He's a former 13-year assistant coach at the University of Oklahoma, where he participated in a national championship team as an assistant coach with the Sooners and then won 2 more, while at Clemson during a 10-year stint as defensive coordinator, noting those were both against SEC opponents in those national championship games when he was at Clemson. Last year, the Sooners went 10-3 overall, 7-2 in the Big 12. They ranked 3rd nationally in total offense, 4th in scoring offense, and led the country in defensive interceptions per game. It was great for me to be in Norman just over 2 weeks ago for the celebration event, including a chance to visit with Brent and other members of the Oklahoma staff. And so we're really pleased to welcome to the stage the University of Oklahoma head football coach for the first time at SEC Football Media Days, Brent Venables.
All right, good afternoon. Appreciate everybody being here today. Great to be back in the great city of Dallas, where our roster is represented with close to 20 players. I'd like to thank Commissioner Sankey, his staff, for putting on, as always, a first-class event. I'd also like to thank Commissioner Sankey for being in Norman July 1st and helping us as a university, helping us transitioning to the SEC. What a great day it was. I know you got your steps in that day, but just really appreciate your leadership through all of that. I'd also like to thank our president, Joe Harris, and our athletic director, Joe Castiglione, for not only their leadership, but their alignment, their strength, their vision, in one of the most tumultuous times in college football history, transitioning to the SEC for, again, their leadership, over the last 3 years, their vision for where this program is going, and most importantly, positioning Oklahoma in a great way as a newest member of the strongest conference in all of collegiate athletics, the SEC. I've brought 3 players with me today, and I would be remiss if I just didn't thank them for standing alongside with me here today, representing what I believe is the strongest group of leadership and accountability that I've been a part of while I've been at the University of Oklahoma. And the things that they stand for are all the right things when it comes to being a college football player. That's off the field, that's on the field, that's making everyone around them better. These are young men that have achieved at the very highest levels, both in high school and in college. You're looking at Jackson Arnold as a former national Gatorade Player of the Year, or you're looking at Billy Bowman, an All-American safety, Danny Stutzman, an All-American linebacker, and the humility, the leadership, the work ethic, the toughness, their love for their teammates, and most importantly, their love for their university and their opportunity. I just really humbled that those guys are leaders in our locker room. Very, very thankful for them, and y'all are going to have a great time getting a chance to visit with them here today as well. Really looking forward to getting started. Things started here at the end of July. Really excited about our football team. We've got a great blend of both experience. I believe we have, give or take, around 24 players that are going on their 3rd or more year as a starter in college football. And we also have this amazing foundation of youth. We have 52 scholarship players that are either a freshman or sophomore going into this year. We're going to welcome 53 players this season that have never been at Oklahoma in the fall to run out on the field. And that's 38 scholarship players and 15 walk-ons. We do have, again, a lot to look forward to. We have, I love the direction of this football team and the development since January that's taken place, but we still have a lot of work to do. A lot of excitement, but we got a lot of work to do. We still have an opportunity over the next several weeks and a couple of months to continue to develop, which I think is going to be critical as we chase an opportunity to compete for an SEC championship. It goes without saying, the SEC is a deep, incredibly competitive league, unlike any other in college football, and everything, again, about this league is about parity. It's about competitive depth, and it's a one-possession league. As we've looked at it, outside in, you've got incredibly challenging venues. Every member of this conference, top to bottom, is committed to the excellence that this conference represents. And so, as a football program, being in our first year, we are really looking forward to the challenge.
All right, Coach, thank you for your comments. We'll take questions now. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Please give your name and affiliation. Seth, Diego, and Nolan will get a microphone to you. So we'll go ahead and start up here in the front. If we'll go to the front row, Bob.
Hey, Brent, Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat. I had a two-parter, if that's okay. Kevin, he knows me, so he can help you if you forget the other part. I was wondering if you could talk about Jackson Arnold as your quarterback. I know he played in the bowl game. How big was that? What are you expecting? And then I know OU's won a lot of titles and Heismans and all that, but how ready do you feel like OU is for the SEC transition?
Well, Jackson understands, better than anybody what goes into being a quarterback of a football team, of a locker room, the leader, the face, the responsibilities, the challenges. What I feel best about and have the most peace about is his ability to be able to handle the highs and the lows, the challenges, the success, the failure that a season will bring you. Nobody is more competent or more ready. Now, even though he's a young player, and we've got to, in some ways, be the headlights for him. That's why they call us coach. But his skill, his arm talent, his toughness, his instincts, his ability to lead people, bring out the best in people, no question about it. He's ready for his opportunity and his moment.
And the success of OU combining with the success of the SEC. Is that the
I'm sorry?
Your question, Bob?
How, with all your past history, how ready is OU coming to the SEC to take on this challenge?
I really don't know how to answer that other than we're excited for the challenge. As competitors, as a football program, Oklahoma, isn't intimidated as a football program. We're running towards the SEC. I think that goes without saying. We've looked forward for the last several years for this partnership to be a part of an amazing conference, the best conference in college football. How ready we are, we're excited for the challenge. I think you have to go through it. I think it's probably, as a coach, I think going through it gives you the best litmus test. There's nothing that you can read about or even watch on tape, to be honest with you. We know the challenges from a roster standpoint. The trenches is where this conference is decided, usually year in and year out. Incredibly challenging from that standpoint. The length, the speed, the play at quarterback, the coaching acumen from top to bottom. Again, you're not going to sneak up anywhere, any week, in any venue, and show up and luck up and win. And so it's a conference it's about earning what you get. And I think going through it, a season, you'll figure that out. You'll figure out what was good, what wasn't good, what the areas of your program, your roster that need improvement so that you can match up and have an opportunity to compete for championships.
Coach, we'll go on the section straight in front of you, 3 rows back, straight ahead.
Hey, Brent, Colin Wilson with the Action Network here in the front.
Hey, Colin.
2 new changes to college football. You're going to have live video on tablets on the sidelines in between series. You're also going to have communication in the helmet till 15 seconds left. How big is it that Danny Stutzman's coming back to this defense?
Yeah, again, in regards to the new legislation passing the sideline tablets, it's going to be able to show live video. I think it's a great resource. I think making sure you have very limited amount of time to coach through these moments on the sideline. It'll be useful in some ways, and you just want to make sure that it's not distracting in other ways. In regards to the helmet communication, I think it's going to allow offenses to be even more efficient. Again, you only have it on one guy on defense. It's a little different than the NFL. Now, there's a few teams in the NFL that do a little bit of tempo at times, but a little bit different from a defensive perspective. And again, sometimes, too much communication can be a bad thing too. And so there you'll find that balance as a program and as a player. Some players will receive it better than others, but it can be a real competitive advantage to me offensively to be able to be in the ear of the quarterback 15 seconds prior to snapping the ball. And then having Danny back, it's tremendous. I mean, what I have the most appreciation about is his motives are pure, and certainly he's got big dreams to be an NFL player, but the humility in the decision-making process is like, I can get drafted at a pretty high level. I had an excellent grade, and I've had plenty of guys take the grade and go with it. But he wants to go and have a long career in the NFL, a career of longevity, one that he can immediately show up to the NFL, the most difficult league on the planet, and make an impact wherever he is. But he's just 20 years old. And so he had a real practical, process that he went through. Like, I have so much more to give to the University of Oklahoma and to that locker room. And he wanted to be one of the leaders to help take us into the SEC and leave his legacy and leave his mark that way.
Coach, we'll go over to my left-hand side, our left-hand side on the near aisle.
Hey, Brent. Alex Miller from the Bryan College Station Eagle. You touted how many players you guys have from this DFW area. How do you anticipate recruiting maybe changing to continue landing guys like Jackson Arnold or Billy Bowman, knowing how imperative recruiting an elite roster is now going against schools like A&M and Arkansas for those same guys in the same league?
Yeah, we've been going against all of those teams for decades. And so it's always competitive. The one thing that I know about teams from the Southeastern Conference is the coaching staffs, their recruiters, their facilities, their fan bases, their history, their heritage. Everybody's got a lot to sell. And people from a recruiting standpoint are absolutely relentless from beginning to end. There's nobody that's not that way in the Southeastern Conference. So you gotta. It's a long race, and again, tough to get good players. But the good thing is there's plenty of really good players for everybody to get. And you got to be able to win the race, and run in the race with endurance probably is the best advice.
Hey, Coach, we'll go over to our right here in the front row.
Yeah, Brent, Dean Blevins, News 9, Oklahoma City.
Where's he at?
Here we are, Coach. I saw a quote from an SEC coach saying that OU's biggest adjustment will be along the line of scrimmage. Back to that question. How do you evaluate the status right now at the line of scrimmage for the Sooners?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in good shape, and we'll find out where we need to be better. I'm certainly far from satisfied. We've, over the last, 2.5 years, we've worked really hard at developing a roster that is balanced, that's strong in the trenches and in all the right places. We've had guys leave to graduation. We've had a lot of success on the offensive line. I think Coach Biedenbow in the last, decade has had, 13 guys drafted on the offensive line. I think 10 tackles, as a matter of fact, which is the best in college football. So we're going to lose guys. So we got to attract guys as well. And so wherever we're at today, we're focused on continuing to enhance that part of our team and recruit more competitive depth. But I really feel good that we have somewhere in that 9 to 11 range on the offensive line that are guys that can play winning football for us. And on defense, you're in that 10 to 12 range up front on defense, on our defensive line. Now, again, there's several guys that maybe don't have this depth of experience, but I trust my eyes and what I've been able to see. And wherever they're at, we've got several young guys that be a part of those numbers that I spoke about. And this is a game of development. So going against good people is going to make them better. And so we'll be able to get a really good litmus test going through the, our schedule this year.
Coach, we'll stay over here on my side of the room on the near aisle back near the stage.
Hey, Coach. Nate Sanchez, Dallas Morning News. Josh Heupel talked about it earlier. You go way back with him. You won a national championship with him. You coached him. You coached with him. Can you talk about your relationship with him and what that reunion in September will look like? Yeah, so I was speaking about Josh earlier. I have this deep appreciation for Josh, certainly first and foremost as a player, to experience my first national championship as a coach. I've always looked back and said, man, we couldn't have done it without Hype. His leadership, what he was able to do from a transformation standpoint to our locker room, the guts and the toughness that he played through that 2000 season. So I've always held him up here on this pedestal when it comes from a player standpoint. No surprise, as a coach's son, the level of success that he has had as a coach. I've stayed in touch with him pretty much every step of the way through this process. We competed on the field in 2014, and he went to Utah State and then to Central Florida and then to Tennessee. And so we've stayed in touch through those moments of success and some of the moments that the challenges of a football season will bring you. So a great friend, he and his wife Dawn and their children, really good friends of ours, and just really happy for him and the success that he's had. No surprise. He's always been a winner.
Coach, we'll go in the center aisle straight ahead of you in the third row.
This is John Burrows from On Texas Football. Y'all played Tulane in week 3, a game that probably looked a lot easier at the time it was scheduled than it does today. How does playing those tougher out-of-conference games help prepare your team for the rest of the SEC schedule? And can you tell me what you expect from that game? Well, again, I look at we don't have a preseason in college like, say, the NFL does. So, we have respect for everybody we play, and anybody can beat anybody. And the last time Tulane came to Norman, it went down to the last drive or two of the game, and Tulane having an opportunity to win. And certainly we know they beat USC in the Cotton Bowl year before last, and so I don't know, any other way to prepare for the season other than you practice and you play games. And so this will give an opportunity to see where you're at, and every week is a season of its own, and so we'll treat it as much.
Coach, we're going to go in the section straight ahead of me on this left aisle.
Hey, Brent. Connor O'Gara, Saturday Down South. Do you think horns down should ever be penalized?
Should be penalized, like on the field? Is that what you're referring to? I don't really have an opinion. Football is a game of emotion and intensity and passion, and if they say that's going to be a penalty, then don't do it. And if they say it's, free for all, then have at it. So everybody's different, everybody celebrates different, but whatever rules that they have in place, we'll follow those.
Okay, we'll stay in that same section on the right aisle. Kirk?
Kirk Bowles from the Houston Chronicle, Brent. You and Texas are in lockstep going into the SEC. And I don't know if you and Sark are going to be sharing information as y'all go into the conference together, but do you see the Texas-OU rivalry changing in any way?
I don't. I don't. And it's as deep-seated and hate-filled and emotional of a rivalry as there is in all of college football. So I don't see how the conference affiliation, will make a big difference. What I would say is that,
that's one of many games that you're going to have to find a way to grind it out. You know, if you think that one is emotionally taxing, you're going to go into a lot of venues that the pageantry is going to be real. Those stadiums are going to be completely full, and a lot of people are going to hate your guts for 3 hours or so. So, you know, I don't see it diminishing, you know, that series and the emotion and the pageantry, the intensity of it whatsoever.
Coach, we're going to go over to the right side in the front row, over to your right, and over towards there.
Hey, Coach. Ken Capps from
Hey.
Football Writers of America. Every coach that has stood on that stage so far has been asked about Texas or Oklahoma and what their impact is going to be on the league. What do you think that says about Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC?
Well, again, I think it's a partnership of elite with elite. And, you know, again, two programs that in the history of college football take a backseat to nobody. The SEC doesn't take a backseat to anybody. From our leadership to the quality of the teams, and really it's every single athletic team on those campuses. It's unmatched, and so we both have programs that have had elite level success with all of our athletic programs, certainly football included, and I just think it fortifies what was already the strongest conference in all of college football.
Coach, we'll stay on the same side in the same row over here on the right.
Hey, Brent, George Stoyos here, Scoop.com. Wanted to ask you about the new rules of analysts being able to coach on the field. You guys have, you know, quite a handful of guys. How big of a difference is that for you on the field, and how are you going to approach that as a head coach?
I think it's fantastic from a development standpoint in helping young coaches develop in the profession, getting opportunities, creating value for themselves, having experience through it, maybe even having another lens. Now that I'm just not standing there with my hands in my pockets, I'm actually having to, or I actually get to coach every day. I think in some ways it'll help you be more efficient. I think you have to be careful that you know, more is not always better. But it does give you another lens and another set of eyes, and maybe again for you as staffs to be a little more efficient. And I think ultimately the players, if done the right way, will be benefactors, you know, of that.
So we're going to go in the section right in front of me, back in the center, about 3/4 of the way back.
Hey, Brent. John Sokoloff with WCBI TV. Obviously, Jeff Lebby is on your staff the last couple of years, and now he's entering his first head coaching job in the SEC. And just overall, what do you think of him as a coach, and how do you think he'll do as a head coach?
Yeah, I love Jeff. Jeff is one of my favorite people on this planet. He's always in a great mood. His perspective on life and the game of football and on the locker room, real juice and energy, genuineness and positivity. He's a coach's kid, so the game and the locker room have always been a sanctuary for him, which helps him be a very successful coach. So really confident. He'll do a great job. He's aggressive. He's innovative. He relates well to people. He brings out the best in people. He has the ability to instill confidence in the simplest ways. And I know he's put together a really outstanding staff. He's led athletic director Zach Selman, known him for a long time. And Zach is an assassin of his own, young athletic director that has a tremendous future as well. And I know the passion in Starkville, Mississippi is very real. And so they'll support him in all the right ways to be successful.
Okay, Coach, we'll go in the center section, just along the aisle. Right.
Hey, Coach.
Hello.
Emily Grace McWhorter from the next round. Welcome to the SEC.
Thank you.
OU announced that they have a new football recruiting structure, specifically Curtis Lofton as a general manager, similar to Courtney Morgan at Alabama. What inspired this structure change, and how do you feel like it'll give you an edge in SEC recruiting?
Yeah, and I really look at it as, you know, an opportunity to, I'm focused on our locker room. And, you know, what I have an appreciation for is our leadership from our athletic administration. Again, Joe Harris and Joe Castiglione for their forward thinking, for their ambition, looking ahead to where things are moving. And, you know, it's constantly changing, evolving. So we've set up our systems in such a way that it allows us to be flexible, to be able to pivot when we need to. Things haven't really landed in a hard space yet, but this allows us the agility to be able to manage wherever it does land. And at the end of the day, it's recruiting. There's a professional way to look at it. In some ways, we're like the NFL. In many ways, we're not. We don't get to draft. We don't have multi-year contracts. And so things are in some ways the same, but in many ways not. This gives us a way in the collegiate model to hopefully put us in a position of strength when it comes to not only resources, but most importantly, with our systems in place. And at the end of the day, it's all about helping the players be successful as we build the strongest roster that we can. And so from player evaluation to player acquisition to player retention, that's really the focus. That sounds like a recruiting staff to me, but there is a piece of it. And Jake Rosenthal and his organization partnering with them is going to allow us to manage some really choppy waters. And I say choppy only because we haven't been there before. From a potential salary cap of some sort, when this does all land, there'll be some sort of a salary cap. And so, we'll be able to, tap into their expertise and their skill set to help us be on the front end and the cutting edge, if you will, of that space.
Okay, we're going to take one final question in the section right in front of me, about 3/4 of the way back.
Hi, Brent. Brian Cruz with Sooners Wire for USA Today. With Ted Roof going to UCF and Jeff Lebby, as mentioned, going to Mississippi State, can you talk a little bit about Zach Alley as your defensive coordinator hire that you handled this winter, and Seth Luttrell and Joe John Finley taking over as co-OCs?
Yeah, so I know there are coordinator changes, and going into the SEC with coordinator changes. On paper, that sounds really daunting, and in some ways maybe it is. But our relationships go back a long time. Obviously, Joe John and Seth were already internally at Oklahoma, known both of those coaches. Joe John, since he was 17 years old, recruited him from Arlington High School, played for his daddy, Mickey Finley. And so in Seth, he was a sophomore captain, football player for us on our national championship team. And we've all kind of grown up in this profession together. So I've had a different type of lens when it comes to those two young coaches, incredibly skilled, both of them, tremendous instincts for the game, great toughness that our players will benefit from. They understand ball, they understand a locker room, they understand what competitiveness looks like, and they understand what it means to be a great teammate and to bring out the best in people. So these are leaders of leaders. What they were as players, they have the same skill set and talents as coaches. So really excited about transitioning and continuing to move forward as an offense with those two guys in charge, along with the rest of our staff on offense. Bill Bedenbow, Coach Jones, Coach Murray, the rest of our support staff, fantastic group of men, really talented. And then Zach, he's got a unique story. Zach he came directly to Clemson and jumped into coaching as a freshman at Clemson. His dad played at Clemson. His brother was a baseball player, played at Furman, and comes from Zach was an outstanding player himself. He just chose not to go the walk-on route or the FCS route as a scholarship player, and chose to chase his dream as a young person. Incredibly bright, always forward-thinking, always has the players in mind when it comes to learning and being able to play fast and aggressive. But has tremendous innovation in his skills. But he's a fundamentalist. He's demanding. He knows what excellence looks like, and he's has blended well with the rest of our staff, who, again, most of them he had previous relationships as well. So it's been a fine oiled machine, if you will, up to this point.
Coach, welcome to the SEC, and thank you for your time this afternoon.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
He's ready for your questions. We'll start in the right on the back row. Dan Peck, ESPN 106.7 in Auburn. Coach, Oklahoma's first road game as an SEC team will be in Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn at the end of September. First time Oklahoma has ever been to Auburn. The two previous meetings were in bowl games. You're familiar with Auburn from your time both at Oklahoma and Clemson. Out of curiosity, just your understanding of the Auburn program and your relationship with Hugh Freeze as you guys square off at the end of September.
Yeah, well, they're going to be ready. I know that. I'm talking about the fans, the pageantry, pregame, during the game. They've got a wonderful atmosphere, tough, challenging, loud. And Coach Freeze, and he's put together an outstanding staff. I've always watched them. I'm always studying offenses. When I watch a game, I'm watching the offense. Most of the time, I don't watch the defense. I'm just always looking for good plays that I know are coming if we haven't seen it already. And Hugh's always been on the front end of the cutting edge of the next new great thing offensively and putting you in conflict on defense. So I've got tremendous respect for he and his staff and what he's been able to accomplish in his career. We were in Turks and Caicos until I saw him at the SEC meetings. We were in Turks and Caicos with our families a summer or two ago, and we found out that we were down there together. And so we had a quick chat. But great people, good man, and fantastic coach. And Auburn's going to be a real challenge, on the road.
Jacques, and then pass it up to the front row when you're done.
Hey, Coach, right in front. Jacques, do you say WAP-TV in Baton Rouge? A similar question. I think LSU and Oklahoma have only played 3 times in their history, and I know from LSU's perspective, the fans are excited about the Oklahoma Sooners coming to Tiger Stadium. What are your thoughts on that venue and these two teams getting together?
I'm trying not to get ahead of myself. We certainly know that's on the schedule, and we understand. I've heard it from any coach that's coached in the Southeastern Conference. They talk about playing in Baton Rouge and at any time, let alone a night game, and the challenge of that, the difficulties of that, very real. And so something that's, again, for our players, we want to, as a program, we want to go to those venues. We want to be on the biggest stage in the biggest game. So we don't shy away from that as a program, something that we know is going to be tough and challenging, but glad that that's on the schedule. That's hopefully, I know it's going to bring out the best in our guys, and I'm sure it will for them as well, and it'll be a great game for college football.
Left side on the aisle, then pass it to the gentleman behind you.
Hi, Brent. Bradley Davis with WAPT Sports in Jackson. Good to meet you. So first off, Jackson Dart was saying yesterday that he almost chose OU over Ole Miss. I know you're going to see him this year. I believe that was your first year taking over. So first, just your thoughts on Dart and also what Mississippi State's getting with Jeff Lebby.
Yeah, Jackson is an unbelievable young guy, one of the best competitors that I've seen at quarterback, incredibly talented. He's a guy's guy and likes to have fun, great instincts, great talent. He's an amazing family. It's no surprise to me that he's had the success that he's had. I wish he wasn't on the schedule. No, but he plays, you all have watched him, I'm preaching to the choir, but he plays with the guts and the toughness that you want every player in your program to play with. But he lets it all out, plays it again, and got a little swag to him, which I love. And he brings out the best in people. You can see that, when you watch them play. And then what'd you say about Jeff? Yeah, again, Jeff is known him since he was a player. Well, recruited him at Oklahoma. Again, comes from a coaching family. He's like a pig in the mud when it comes into getting into the coach's locker room or out on the field in the middle of the huddle. He brings out the best in everybody. A really tough, demanding, positive demeanor to him. He speaks life and vision and can-do into the players. He's a thinker. He knows how to respond when things aren't going well. He handles adverse situations really, really well. He's just a strong man, great husband, great father, great people. He's got a fantastic staff, and he'll fit in really, really well in Starkville. He's a West Texas kid and fit in really well in that passionate community. And then Zach Selman, they have a long-standing history and relationship that will benefit the program in the locker room and the staff, the university, because of that relationship. They really will see eye to eye from the get-go.
Right side on the aisle, then please pass it forward. Go ahead.
Jordan Kay with the State Newspaper. Coach, you've got a 8-game winning streak against South Carolina. What's it going to be like to face them wearing different colors? And, will you call Coach Swinney after that and, kind of share the game plan a little bit?
Well, I'm not looking forward to seeing Shane again in that manner, because I'm a people person, and I don't like facing people that I know and I like. I really don't. Because I know the byproduct of it, man. But that it is what it is. But you're asking me how I really feel. Shane's done a great job, and I know they had some adversity last year and started off the season in a tough way and finished really well. I think that they're undervalued as a team. I've really looked at them hard, looked at their roster, looked at how they played throughout the year. They played their best football at the end of the year. Even when they came up short, I spoke earlier about being a one-possession league, and they were on the wrong side of that a couple of times. But everybody they played, maybe exception of one person, I can't recall, but maybe it was Georgia. I think that was in Athens. And they're going toe-to-toe for a good part of that game, and their defense. I know the final numbers don't look great, but I think it was something right around 300 yards of defense. Maybe their last 6 games that they gave up, maybe a little less than 300 yards and 20 points or less. They had an outstanding back half of their season. And then they got everybody back. They've done a really good job and have a lot of guys back. They've recruited well in the transfer portal, and they had a lot of young guys up front on the offensive line, and that'll only be better. You're going to get baptized anywhere in college football, let alone the SEC, if you're a freshman playing starting on an offensive line, and one of the hardest positions to play as a freshman. But he's got a great staff. What I've always appreciated about South Carolina, it doesn't matter how the team's doing. They're going to show up early and they're going to stay late. They're passionate. I had a friend that coached for Lou Holtz at South Carolina years ago while I was still at Oklahoma, and I had no idea what South Carolina and Clemson was all about. And now that I spent a decade in that state, there's only, give or take, I don't know, I think it's 5 million people in the whole state, and they're going to have on 2 ends of the state, in the upstate and down in the low state, 2 programs on any given Saturday. Their stadiums have 80,000 plus people, and they are loud, both places. So that's really cool. As a lover of college football and the pageantry, the hate of the rivalries, and then really kind of having a bird's eye view. I've been kind of watching, over the fence what has taken place at that program, whether that was with Coach Spurrier, Coach Muschamp, I forget his name, the offensive line coach, great coach that they just hired back from Georgia State, leaves the head job, and Sean Elliott, great coach, tough guy, and then and then now Shane and what he's been able to do to galvanize that fan base, and they're recruiting really, really well right now as well. But they have a lot. If you haven't been to South Carolina, they've got it's a really neat, community as the state capital there, and really nice facilities, real commitment to the excellence that I spoke about earlier. But big fan of, Shane as a coach and human being, great people.
Third row on the aisle, then pass it to your right.
Rick Henry, WSTV, Columbia. Coach, are you surprised that in all the years that Oklahoma and South Carolina have been playing football, that this season is going to be their first meeting ever?
Yeah, and again, there's, both, Oklahoma's been to a whole lot of bowl games and has really traveled around the country in some of their non-conference schedules through the year. So, yeah, it is a little bit of a surprise. We have had some
matchups with the SEC and some of the bowl games, but that one hasn't happened yet. It would be really great. We could all get our popcorn if Coach Spurrier and Coach Stoops were two good friends, if they were going at it as the head coaches of those programs.
Front row on the right.
Eric Bailey of Tulsa World. Kirby Smart, for all the success this morning, said any road win in the SEC is a huge win. Can you talk about just playing on the road this year, the expectations for Oklahoma? And I know every win for you guys the past 2 years with you as a coach has been tough. Just talk about the mentality of going on the road in the SEC in year one.
Yeah, again, everything's hard. Everything, the windows that you throw through are hard. The gaps that you run through are small. There's length, there's physicality, there's depth, there's speed, there's precision, and then you go experience what a road game brings to you. Again, you're not looking at half-field stadiums. You're looking at the best of the best. They're bringing it, and they understand the value of creating an intimidating, loud, difficult environment in order to operate in. And so, but it's a great opportunity is how I look at it. And but absolutely, I mean they're all hard. I'm 16-10 as a head coach. I think 7 of the 10 losses have been by one score. The eighth loss was our bowl game where we had 6 turnovers. We still had a chance to win it late in the game. That's probably been the hardest thing that I've had to go through as a head coach through 2.5 years is enduring that. I learned a lot from it, and but I want to be on the right side of those those one-score games. But that's what we've talked to our team and talked to the staff about all the efficiencies. It's certainly there's a physicality component, there's a depth component, but there's also the efficiency component. So whether that's taking care of the football, I think we're 13-2 when we've won the turnover margin since I've been at Oklahoma, and we're 3-8 when we've tied or have been on the negative side of the turnover margin. And so everything's going to matter. So we're going to have to take care of the ball and be great in all the situationals, 3rd down, 4th down, 2-minute, 4-minute, red zone, offense, defense, can't give up, touchdowns on defense, got to score touchdowns on offense, all those things. What is it going to take to win those one-possession games, to win on the road in hostile environments? And so it's going to take all 3 phases, clicking the right way, and then you got to hang in there and find a way to win when it counts.
3rd row, left side, then pass it to your right.
Jay Smith, Locked On Sooners. Coach, you are considered one of the best defensive minds in college football. And in your tenure in Oklahoma and Clemson, you've put together some elite defenses. Now you're in your 3rd year here at Oklahoma, and you've got a lot of the defensive guys you really want for your system. How do you feel they measure up to some of those older Oklahoma defenses you had?
Yeah, I don't ever like comparing because every one of them's different. And I do know what you're asking, and we'll see. We have a lot of experience returning. What does that mean? Because there are some areas that we weren't great in. So sometimes that frightens you. Oh, those guys are coming back, and I say that tongue in cheek, but just because we have all this experience coming back doesn't mean that we're going to be an elite defense. And so we got a lot of work to do, a long ways to go. And as we've built this, we try to do it with having foresight and understanding, okay, we got Kip Lewis and he's a freshman. Okay, what does that look like in 2 or 3 years from now? And as we've developed our roster, we had we lost within the first 15 months that I got to Oklahoma, we lost 75 scholarship players. 40 of them were on defense within the first little over a year. And, we weren't, as I look back at it, we weren't, after Coach Riley left, we weren't able to, our roster was not prepared for the exodus, if you will. And, again, I think that kind of goes without saying, but we had a lot of work to do in developing, again, the competitive depth. And so we went from, guys trying to widen the plate the first year to compliance in year 2. And now I see, a group of young men in the locker room that understand deeply, highly invested young men. And this is not just defense, it's every part of our program. That these guys they understand the value system. They value it every bit as much as the coaches. And so when I think about, what our potential is and, what we're capable of, that gets me excited because of the right people on the bus. You got them on the right seat. And again, as we continue to build, we're getting ready to sign what I feel like is one hell of a class in 2025 and hitting on all the areas that we need to hit on to be successful. You're going to constantly lose guys year in and year out, but you're trying to create something that has sustainability, longevity, stability, and continuity. And so to me, it comes down to not just the people, but creating an environment where they want to stay, they want to develop, they want to put the work in. They understand that, whoever they are as a 17-year-old, a freshman, they're going to look a hell of a lot different when they're 21, 22 years old. And so from that standpoint, we have several guys I mentioned earlier. We have 52 scholarship freshmen and sophomores. So we're still a young team, and winning 10 games and having a chance to win the other 2 games on the last play of the game in the regular season a year ago. We also did that with a roster that, had some of the most reps in all of college football with freshmen. I think we had over 4,300 reps. With our freshmen. So we have this unique blend of experience and youth. And for me, if guys keep their head down, stick to it, stay committed, and that's going to be the key to this defensive unit that you asked, their commitment's got to be greater than their potential. And if that is, we're going to have a chance to be, a really good unit, but we're going to be challenged and it's going to be really hard. And so I'm like, we'll see, check back in, December on, who we're going to be. Ultimately, our identity is going to be defined through the work that we do and through the season that we endure. And there are going to be a lot of challenges along the way. And that's what I know. And talking to Coach Saban several weeks ago in just casual conversation, the ability to sustain emotionally and physically the grind of a season is what the challenge of the SEC is going to bring. And I thought a year ago we lost through 7 weeks. We were the number 1 team in the country in turnover margin. Big win against Texas, and I don't know what we were ranked, somewhere probably in the top 10. And I didn't feel like we handled success very well in any way, starting with me. And, and I think that's easy to say. We lost 2 one-score games on the road against good teams, and we had 6 turnovers in 2 games. We led the nation going into those games, with not turning the ball over, and we didn't take care of the ball, and this game will punish you, when you do that, and all the little things matter. So, for me and the defense, I think the challenge is, who can we be in December?
Thank you very much, Coach. Appreciate your time.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks.